Today we continue to listen Silavanta Sutta. In this sutta, Venerable Sariputra said to Venerable Kutika, Ime pinju pada nekhande nechato dukhato anattato yoniso manasi karundo sota patiphala sichikareya. If a virtuous bhikkhu sees the five aggregates of clinging as impermanent, suffering, and no self, and so on, there is the possibility that he may reach the stage of stream entry. And he become a Sotapanna. Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anāgāmi, and Arahant, there are 8 noble persons. Among the 8 noble persons, 4 persons are called Palata, fruition person. They are stream enterer, Sotapanna, once returner, Sakadagami, non-returner, Anāgāmi, and Arahant. So when yogi reach the stage of Sotapatti Megaphala, Sotapanna have developed the path of stream entry by abandoning ditthi and vicikiccha, wrong views and skeptical doubt, and yogi becomes a stream enterer. Yogi has escaped the rebirth, escaped from rebirth in woeful states. A yogi will be reborn at most 7 more times. Then yogi continue to practice, continue to observe the 5 aggregates of clinging, and then yogi became Sakadagami. Once returner, having developed the path of once returning, that means having reached the second path. So in this stage, with the attenuation of raga, dosa, moha, lust, hatred, and delusion, yogi becomes a once returner. Yogi becomes one who returns to this world only one more time. So this yogi, a once returner, does not eradicate any more of the mental defilements, but he attenuates or he makes much less raga, dosa, moha, lust, hatred, and delusion. By the first attainment, by the first mega path, these have been made weak. By the second mega, Sakadagami mega, mental defilements are made weaker. So the raga, dosa, and moha are very weak in a yogi who has reached the second stage. So he does not eradicate altogether any more mental defilements. He is called a once returner because he returns to this world only one more time. In this way, although attenuated forms of these mental defilements can stay arise in him, they do not occur often, and their obsessive force is weak. According to the commentary to the Pogala Pinyati, one of the 7 Abhidhamma books, there are 5 kinds of Sakadagami, was returner. Number 1, Ida Bhatva Ida Parinebhayi. Yogi attains the fruits of one's returning in the human world. So he becomes a Sakadagami in this human world, takes rebirth in the human world, and he dies, and then he's reborn as a human being and attains final nirvana there. So that is Ida Bhatva Ida Parinebhayi. This is one kind of Sakadagami. This yogi attains enlightenment in this world, is reborn in this human world, and becomes an Arahant in this human world. And number 2, Ida Bhatva Tatha Parinebhayi. Yogi attains the fruits of one's returning in the human world, takes rebirth in a heavenly world, and attains nirvana there. So yogi becomes a Sakadagami in the human world. He dies and is reborn in the worlds of devas, celestial realms, and becomes an Arahant there, attains nirvana there. That is the second type of Sakadagami, Ida Bhatva Tatha Parinebhayi. And that one, Tatha Bhatva Tatha Parinebhayi. Yogi attains the fruits in a heavenly world, takes rebirth in a heavenly world, and attains final nirvana there. That means yogi becomes a Sakadagami as a deva, as a deity, as a celestial being. Then he is reborn as a deva and attains final nirvana there. That is Tatha Patva Tatha Parinebhayi, the third one. The fourth one, Tatha Patva Ida Parinebhayi. Yogi attains the fruits in a heavenly world, takes rebirth in the human world, and attains final nirvana here. So yogi becomes a Sakadagami as a celestial being. He is reborn as a human being, and he attained final nirvana here. That is the fourth one, Tatha Patva Ida Parinebhayi. And the last one is Ida Bhatva Tatha Parinebhayi. Ida Badwa Data Nibitedwa Ida Bri Nibayi. Yogi attains the fruits in the human world. Here he becomes a Sakadagami, takes rebirth in a heavenly world. So he dies here and is reborn as a Deva and pass the full lifespan there. He lives there as long as his lifespan and then takes rebirth again in the human world, where he attains final Nibbana. So that is the last one. Ida Padwa Tata Nibbadetwa Ida Brinivayi. So after becoming a Sakadagami, Yogi continued to observe the five aggregates of clinging, and then he became Anāgāmi, non-returner. Yogi does not come back. Here also it says, come back to this world. What world is that? Here we take it to be Kamavajara world, not just the human world. Anāgāmi, non-returner, has fully eradicated Kamaraga and Vyavada, sensual desire and ill will. There are three kinds of raga: Kamaraga, desire for sense object; Ruparaga, desire for five material worlds; Aruparaga, desire for immaterial worlds. So among these three, Anāgāmi, non-returner, eradicates totally the first one, Kamaraga, desire for sense objects, for sensual things. So yogi eradicates sensual desire and ill will, Kamaraga and Vyavada. He eradicates dosa altogether. So he has also eradicated the taints of sensual desire and the unwholesome cetasika, hatred and worry, as well as all greed, taking as sensuous object. So he will be spontaneously reborn in the five material realms and there attain final Nibbana. It should be noted that while only non-returners are reborn in the Sodavasa pure abode, there is no fixed determination that all non-returners are reborn there. So we understand a Sotapanna can be a married person. He or she can still be a married person for Sotapanna. And what about a Sakadagami? He or she can still be a lay person And then Anāgāmi, what about an Anāgāmi? If he does not indulge in things, he can continue to live as a layperson, but he cannot live a married life, enjoying the pleasure of marriage. And you know the Brahma Sahampati. Sahampati Brahma approached Buddha and requested to teach Dhamma to all beings. That is immediately after Buddha enlightenment. Immediately after his enlightenment, Buddha did not want to teach Dhamma. Because Buddha reflected two things. One thing is he reflected on Dhamma, and then he reflected on beings, and he deeply respected Dhamma. So the first thing, the Buddha reflected on Dhamma. In this way, Dhamma which I know is very profound. Dhamma is difficult to understand. It is so sublime and so conducive to inner peace. It is not accessible to intellect and logic. Dhamma is subtle and it is to be realized by wise people only. Then Buddha reflected on beings. Most of the living beings were mired in sensual pleasures. And that one, Buddha deeply respected Dhamma. So because of this reason, Buddha did not want to teach Dhamma. Because he saw beings immersed in sensual pleasures. So he thought it would be very difficult for beings to understand his teaching, to understand the Dhamma. And so his mind bent towards not teaching the Dhamma. Then somebody, Brahma, knew the minds of the Buddha. So somebody, Brahma, came down to the human world and he asked the Buddha to teach the Dhamma. Before he became a Brahma, that being, that somebody was an Anāgāmi, a layperson. So Anāgāmi can continue to live as a layperson so long as he does not enjoy sensual pleasures or sense object. So there is one story. During the time of the Buddha in the city of Rajagaha, there was a rich man called Visakha. So understand the name Visakha. Visakha is almost the same as the name of a female devotee, female donor. Visakha. If the person is a woman, the name is pronounced Visakha with a long A. If a person is a man, the name is pronounced Visakha with a short A. So after the Buddha had delivered the first sermon, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta at Isipatana, and spent the Vasa there, he continued his journey and ultimately reached Rajagaha, where he spent the second Vasa. After reaching Rajagaha, he gave talks to many people, including King Bimbisara, and the king Bimbisara and his many followers, including rich man Visakha, became Sotapannas at the first meeting with the Buddha. Later, Visakha listened to a Dhamma talk by the Buddha and became a Sakadagami. And another time when he attended a discourse, he became a Anāgāmi. So when he returned home after becoming an Anāgāmi, Visakha was changed. On other days, he would go home smiling and calling his wife. But on this day, Visakha went back home like a monk. As he approached his house this time, his wife was looking out the window and she saw the strange behavior of Visakha. And she wondered what had happened to my husband. Does he want somebody outside or somebody had devices talk with him? She wondered. And when the husband entered the house, his wife offered her hand to him just as she did every day. But Visakha did not take her hand. He just kept his hands to himself. So the wife was disappointed. And then she thought, strange, I will know what is wrong when he eats. And at mealtime, Visakha did not eat at the same table with her. He took his food and went to another place and ate like a monk. Seeing this behavior, the wife said to herself, very strange. I will know in the evening. But at night, he did not enter the bedchamber. He went to another room and slept on a small couch. And so it went on for 2 or 3 days. When his wife could not hold back any longer, she approached her husband. Her husband asked, "Why do you come?" And the wife asked Visakha, what had happened to change you? And Visakha then decided that although it is not uh, it is not agreeable, it is not convenient to declare his own attainment, he had to tell her his attainment. If he did not tell the truth, she would die of heartbreak. And so Visakha said, I have attained the Dharma and can no longer live a married life. You have 400 millions and I have 400 millions, and now all of them are yours. You can do whatever you like with them. If you want to go on living in this house, you can live in this house, but you will be like my mother, or you will be like my sister. And he added, if you want to marry some other person, you are free to do so. Visakha said to his wife. Then the wife thought, an ordinary man cannot say like this. So Dharma he has attained must be very great. And she asked, is the Dharma obtainable by men only? And Visakha replied, no, Dharma can be obtained by anybody, man or woman. And she said, in this case, I want to be ordained. So Visakha was very happy. And arranged for her ordination. He informed King Kosala, got a palanquin, and gathered some other people, and with great ceremony took his wife to the nunnery where bhikkhunis lived. There he asked the chief bhikkhuni to ordain his wife. But the bhikkhuni thought he was just a man who was angry with his wife and was sending her to the nunnery. So the chief bhikkhuni said, dear man, you should tolerate an offense or two. A little offense should be tolerated. Don't do like this. The chief bhikkhuni said to Visakha. And he replied, no, she wants to become a bhikkhuni by herself through faith. And so his wife was ordained and given the name Dhammadena. Dhammadena, very famous bhikkhuni. After her ordination, many people came to the nunnery, and Dhammadena did not get much time to practice. So taking her teacher with her, she went to another place and practiced meditation there. Because she was a gifted person and had accumulated paramis, perfection in her past life, it took her only 2 or 3 days to become an Arahant. So Dhammadena returned to the city, and when her husband Visakha heard that she had come back, he thought, oh, she ordained, and after a few days, she now has come back. Maybe she wants to go back to lay life. Visakha thought in this way. So to test her, Visakha went to her and asked questions about the Dharma. So their conversation is recorded in a discourse found in Michima Nikaya. His question was very deep, but she all answered them. And he was so pleased that he went to the Buddha and reported her answers. And Buddha said, even if you were to ask me this question, I would give the same answer that Dhammadena gave to you. So Dhammadena was very honored by the Buddha's words. When Visakha became an Anāgāmi, he knew that he could not carry on living as a husband or in household life. So he was able to easily give up his wife. He was able to easily give up his wealth and everything he owned. They are objects of senses, and Anāgāmi is not interested in any of those sense objects. So if the person becomes an Anāgāmi, he will not care for anything in the world, including his spouse. So the stage of Anāgāmi is the third stage of enlightenment. When a yogi reaches this stage, he eradicates desire for sense object and evil, kamaraga and vyabhada. He no longer has desire for things in the world and no longer experiences hate, anger, or fear. So the Anāgāmi is almost like an Arahant. But there still remain 5 factors, 5 sanyojana to be eradicated. The Anāgāmi has desire for form realms, rupavachara, and arupavachara, formless realms. That means he has attachment to the existence of Brahma, which Brahma who have both mind and body, and also to the realms of Brahmas who have no physical body but mind body. So Anāgāmi still has desire for these 2 realms, Rupavachara and Arupavachara. He still has desire for these 2 realms and wants to be reborn there. And Anāgāmi still has mana, pride. It may be very small and very thin pride, but still Anāgāmi has it. Pride is mostly based on wrong view, the I. But since Anāgāmi eradicated wrong view long ago, the pride of Anāgāmi is not based on that wrong view. yet he still has it, perhaps pride in himself in the sense of I know, I see, etc. Anāgāmi has what is called udicca, restlessness. Restlessness here means the mind being unable to rest on the meditation object properly. When a yogi practices meditation, sometimes he cannot see the objects clearly. His mind is not distracted by other objects. It is on the meditation object, but he does not see it clearly. His mind is, as it were, a little away from the object, shaking above it. And though this restlessness or agitation still remains with the non-returners, it must be very weak and thin. Anāgāmi are described as those who have accomplished the fulfillment of samadhi. Samadhi samay paripurakari. Anāgāmi have accomplished the fulfillment of samadhi concentration. That means Anāgāmi are very strong in concentration. Although restlessness is the opposite of concentration, the Anāgāmi cannot eradicate it altogether. But his remaining udicca restlessness must be very small, and his restlessness of mind is not the body. And Anāgāmi state has the factors of avijja, ignorance. To say that Anāgāmi has ignorance sounds like insult. But this ignorance is not the ignorance that the ordinary Walin, Puthujjana, Sotapanna, and Sakadagami possess. Perhaps the ignorance of Anāgāmi is due to not knowing the true nature of form sphere realms and formless sphere realms, the realms in which he longs to be reborn. So a little ignorance, little avijja is left in Anāgāmi. Actually, the Anāgāmi have very few mental defilements left, so most of them are reborn in the Sodavasa or pure abode of the Brahma realms. So there are 20 Brahma realms. One of them is the realms of Brahma who have physical body only, but no mind, and 4 of them are the realms of Brahma who have mind only and no physical body. And the remaining 15 realms belong to the Brahmas who have both physical body and mind. Of these 15 realms, the highest 5 are called pure abodes, or the abodes of pure person, Sodavasa. Having reached the third stage of enlightenment, Anāgāmi have eradicated many mental defilements. and have no desire for sensual things. Anāgāmi are said to be pure beings, and so they are reborn there. Only those who get jhanas can be reborn in the worlds of Brahmas. But the question, what if a person, if a yogi becomes an Anāgāmi without jhana? There can be those yogi who reach the stage of Anāgāmi without the attainment of jhana. It is said that since Anāgāmi are those who are accomplished in fulfillment of concentration, samadhi samay paripurakari, they are accomplished in fulfillment of concentration, they will definitely get jhana before they die or when the time of death is near. So they are mostly reborn in these 5 pure abodes, Sutta Vasa. After a yogi becomes an Anāgāmi, he is able to get into the Palasamapatti of an Anāgāmi when he wishes, simply because he has attained this stage. Now, Venerable Mahakutika asks Venerable Sariputra, Friend Sariputra, what are the things that a bhikkhu who is a non-returner, who is an Anāgāmi, should carefully attend to? The answer is the same as for the Sotapanna and Sakadagami, stream enterer and once returner. Venerable Sariputra said, Friend Guttika, a bhikkhu who is a non-returner should carefully attend to these 5 aggregates subject to clinging as impermanence, as suffering, as non-self. Friend Guttika, when a bhikkhu who is a non-returner attends in this way to these 5 aggregates subject to clinging, it is possible that he may realize the fruits of arahantship. So there is the possibility that if an Anāgāmi practice vipassana meditation on the 5 aggregates of clinging, upadana, he will reach the fruits of arahantship and become an arahant. Even an Anāgāmi must practice meditation to reach the higher stage of arahantship. When he practices vipassana meditation to get into the phala samapatti, it is not difficult for him to enter. But when he tries to reach the higher stage of arahantship through the practice of vipassana meditation, he must go through all the different stages of vipassana. So when he reached the next higher stage of arahantship, he is able to eradicate all of his remaining mental defilements or the remaining 5 factors. So on becoming an Arahant, he has no mental defilements at all. Some of them have been eradicated during the lower stages, and the remaining 5 are eradicated at the attainment of arahantship. So in this way, an arahant is a person whose mind is totally pure of all mental defilements, kilesa. That is why arahant is incapable of becoming attached to anything. Arahant is incapable of getting angry even when there is provocation. Arahant is incapable of envy or jealousy and so forth. So Arahant is described in the discourses and in the Abhidhamma as one who has destroyed all of the things, asavakaya. Taste means mental defilements. So one who no longer has any mental defilements in his mind. He is also described as one who, having practiced meditation and reached arahantship, has lived the holy life. In order to live the holy life, he has to be perfect in sila, moral precepts, and he must practice meditation, and he must have reached the state of freedom from mental defilements. So Arahant is described as Usitam Brahmacharyam, the person who has lived the holy life, and Katankaraniyam, one who has done what has to be done. Putujana, ordinary worldling and people who have attained the lower stages of enlightenment are also called those who are doing what has to be done. They are still doing something. They are still trying to attain enlightenment, and they are doing what needs to be done to reach the stage. But Arahant already has reached the highest stage and has done what is to be done for attainment of total purifications of mind, the highest stage of enlightenment. He has nothing to do with reaching enlightenment, as he has already reached his highest stage. So he is described as Katankaraniyam, one who has done what is to be done. And he is also described as one who has laid down the burden. So aggregates, khanda, are described as burdens because when we cling to our aggregates, they are heavy load. We have to take care of our body aggregates, we have to nurture them, we have to attend to them every day. So we carry a big burden when we are attached to the 5 aggregates. And kilesa, mental defilements, are also called burdens because they cause the burden of aggregates. And karma is also called burden. As long as we have karma, we will be reborn again and again. That means we will be suffering the burdensome five aggregates again and again. People who have not eradicated the mental defilements are carrying these heavy loads at every moment. Among the mental defilements, there are tanha, craving, and avijja, ignorance. Craving and ignorance, which are the roots of all existence. Since an Arahant has destroyed all mental defilements, kilesa, he has thrown away the great burden of aggregates, khandha. He has thrown away the great burden of mental defilements, kilesa, and karma. So Arahant is described as one who has reached his own goal to become an Arahant, which is the goal for monks and Buddhists. According to the teaching of Theravada, not everybody can become a Buddha. But Arahantship is practical and not so difficult as the path to Buddhahood. So a yogi who has reached arahantship can be called one who has reached his own goal. Arahant is also described as one whose factors of existence are exalted, meaning he has described them. There are 10 mental factors such as sensual desire, ill will, conceit, wrong views, adherence to rites and rituals, vicikiccha, skeptical doubt, asa, envy, micchariya, avarice, avijja, ignorance, etc. They are called factors, sanyojana, because they bind us to the realms of rebirth and connect one existence to another existence. So as long as one keep these mental states, one will endure a continuous chain of rebirths linked together by the factors. But the Arahant, having destroyed all 10 factors, all 10 sanyojana, he is free, he has none to bind him to the rounds of rebirths. So Arahant is also described as one who is completely liberated through understanding correctly. This means he has correctly understood the five aggregates, he has correctly understood the bases ayatana, he has correctly understood the dhatu elements, he has correctly understood the Satusicca Four Noble Truths. And he has understood that all conditioned phenomena are impermanent, suffering, and non-self. So Arahant understands all of these correctly. When this correct understanding is complete and he becomes an Arahant, he is fully liberated from all mental defilements and will never again be reborn in any rounds of rebirth. So this description of Arahant is found in many discourses. From this description, you know that an Arahant is one who has reached the highest stage of enlightenment by eradicating all mental defilements, and there is no more rebirth for him, kina jati, no more rebirth for him. So Arahant is one who has done what has to be done and has nothing more to be done in order to gain enlightenment. So what does Arahant do? After he becomes an Arahant, so we'll continue next week. Arahants continue to practice or not, we will explain next week. So we have to stop our discourse for today by practicing vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses, by observing the five aggregates of clinging, by noting rising, falling, sitting, touching, standing, walking, stretching, bending, seeing, hearing, smelling continuously and meticulously. May all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future.